Ole Solvang is the Director of Partnerships and Policy over at the Norwegian Refugee Council. He joins us now live from Paris. Ole, good to see you inside. I'm wondering how these movements, these movement restrictions rather, have been implemented in many countries around the world are having an effect on delivering this much needed aid to refugees.
Well, the Norwegian Refugee Council is an organization that helps refugees and displaced people across more than 30 countries across the world. And what we're obviously extremely worried about is when the coronavirus will start hitting some of these populations. These are often some of the most vulnerable people. They don't have, they have lack of access to proper health systems often. They have a very limited water access, etc. So we're concerned that when this virus hits these communities, that we will see extreme impact of that. And so what we're doing, we're trying to scale up both by providing some of the life-saving assistance that we're already doing, but there are also several issues and several things that we can do and that we're already doing to help prepare these communities to be more resistant to the spread of the virus by providing, for example, more access to water so they can wash hands, more access to sanitation facilities, etc. But the problem that we're seeing right now and that we are concerned that we'll see more and more is that these tough and much needed restrictions that are imposed by governments where there are significant refugee populations, they're preventing us from doing that. And so what we're calling for are for these governments to make sure that we are allowed to conduct our very critical work in the same ways as medical staff and pharmacists and grocery stores are able to continue under these very difficult circumstances.
Ole, it's interesting that you said that, not if this coronavirus hits, but when it hits. So you're actually taking a very proactive stance to this. But, we're told that one of the best measures that we can take to prevent the spread of this coronavirus pandemic is social distancing. But when you look at refugee camps, that may not be an option. Is there anything that you're doing? I know that you said you're providing water, but anything in terms of social distancing?
Well, we're taking a lot of measures to try to make sure that, the communities that we're trying to help are as safe as possible. We're looking at our own programming and seeing how we can make sure that we don't contribute to the spread to these communities. We're looking at how we do for example, distribution of food to make sure that we don't ask people to gather in one place, but that we have distributions that allow for that social distancing. The challenge, again, is often the conditions that we are working on and that the refugees and internally displaced are living under. In many places in these refugee camps, for example, it isn't possible to have social distancing, either because land is not available or because security doesn't allow for expansion of camps or available land where people can live. So again, this really just contributes to our fear that once the virus hits these communities, that it will be spread very rapidly. And what we would like to do is to make sure that we do as much as possible to slow down that development.
Okay. Even before this pandemic, it wasn't sort of humanity's finest hour as we sort of collectively failed to help these millions of refugees who needed our help. But is there a fear that if this pandemic continues, if there's a prolonged timing with this pandemic, that the refugees, the needs of refugees will be pushed sort of further down the road and it becomes very difficult to help them, whether it be the cancellation of flights or the complete shutdown of borders?
No, absolutely. So it is equally important, as we are focusing on the coronavirus and our response to it, it is equally important that we are maintaining some of the support and programming that we do have for refugees and displaced people. And this is, of course, important because of our shared sense of humanity. I think if this crisis is teaching us anything, it is that we're all in this together, and we really need to show solidarity with each other to combat situations like this. But it is also the fact that it's a bit of a paradox in a way that, I'm sitting here in Paris in lockdown because we recognize that moving around is a problem and contributing factor. At the same time, we see that millions of people across the world are being forced to move, forced to flee their homes because of wars, because of conflict, because of lack of natural resources. So it's really important. And I think if this, this crisis should teach us anything, it is that we need to have solidarity and we need to be helping those people who are most vulnerable, both for the sake of humanity and the value of humanity, but it's also, it turns out, in our own self-interest to do so.
All right. Ole Solvang from the Norwegian Refugee Council. Pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much.